Welcome to Television as Furniture. Today we are speaking with the festival director of the Melbourne Fringe, Simon Abraham. Simon, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, let's start with the obvious. Oh, actually, before we start with the obvious, how are you doing? Are you okay after the earthquake?
I'm fine, yes. No, look, there's a lot going on, hey? Like, I just can't believe when the locusts come, that's when I'm out. But I feel...
We had locusts about 4 or 5 years ago already, so that's already come.
That's happened, all right. No, I'm very lucky in every way. I feel very, very fortunate to have, come out on top of all of the things at the moment. I'm, being knocked around like everyone, but no, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah.
Okay, good to hear. All right, so along with the narrowly averted disasters of earthquakes and riots, we had the tragic shutdown of a large chunk of the Fringe a couple of weeks ago. It's awesome to see that it's still going and that so much of it has been able to transition to the internet and to digital broadcast, which suits me down to the ground anyway. I'm going to ask, tell me how that process went for you. Like, how soon in did you know it was going to happen, and how have you been working to keep things going?
Yeah, gosh, it's a big question. So to start with, I think, festivals take a long time to make, and obviously some of these projects we've been making since 2019 and early 2020. The bulk of the program was put together in sort of April, May, June. And it's easy to forget, but I mean, I was at a concert at the Sydney Mine Music Bowl with tens of thousands of people in May. And, the comedy festival was happening in midsummer. And certainly at that point, we were absolutely anticipating we'd be back in person. And that's really the festival we made. But, we always knew anything was a possibility. And so we did we made sure there was a big digital program as well. And we had about 40-something digital events of a festival that had 479 events. So there's no doubt they were mostly in-person events, but it was the biggest ever Melbourne Fringe festival. And obviously, we made a festival, we made a brochure. It looks like this, you'll never see it. But a big, beautiful brochure full of beautiful shows. Goes off to the printer. We've briefed our media. We've, done all the work. And it really was only in the sort of days before our program launched that the world started to look pretty hairy. And at that point, we sort of toed and froed as to what the best thing to do is. And we decided to go ahead and launch the festival. And of course, at that point, lockdown was still due to end. And so at that point, the advice we were receiving was that things could still be fine. They could go either way. And so we launched a festival in the spirit of hope and optimism. And at launch, we did say, here's what we've made. We know it's not going to look exactly like this. And we'll see what will actually happen. And unfortunately, about a week after that was when the Premier announced that lockdown would continue into the festival. And it became clear at that point that our in-person events couldn't happen, which just is devastating. And, there were 387 cancelled events, which is enormous and devastating. And we will reschedule lots of those. So they're not necessarily all gone forever. We run our venue at Trades Hall, Fringe Common Rooms, and we'll program as many as we can there throughout 2022. We're working with our other partner venues, and some of our events will be rescheduled from November. They start to be on. But the reality is there are hundreds of them that have been cancelled, and it's devastating. So it's been a really challenging time as we kind of mourn those events, and for those artists who've made such extraordinary works that we won't get to see. But we are resilient, and I'm amazed at the kind of, I don't know, the constant reimagining that artists can do as well. And, you know, we've created a new festival in sort of 2.5 weeks that's got 126 events in it, and they're almost all digital. I think there's 9 in-person events. They're mostly audio tours that you listen to and go and do things. And 55 of those events are events that were previously digital, that are previously live, that artists have reimagined as digital events. And there's 44 new events as well that artists in 2.5 weeks have decided to either create new works, or some had works on file that they've uploaded and they're able to put on again. But a lot of those are brand new events that people are making, especially for the Fringe. So, you know, I think the fact that we've got a festival with 126 events in this context, in a lockdown festival, is, you know, extraordinary. And, you know, I just think of this as our kind of Phoenix festival that is rising from the ashes, and some of the works in it are beautiful and extraordinary, and it's been a tough time, but I'm really proud with what the team has made.
Yeah. It's a remarkable achievement, really, to get even realistically, even the 55 shows that were already sort of digital, to be able to keep going with them, to be able to add another more than 50, it must be, shows to the festival. It's like programming an entirely new festival all in 2 weeks, which is remarkable, really. And I think obviously it was the right decision to reimagine the festival this way and their works this way as much as possible, because as has been said elsewhere, you know, most people don't even live within 10 k's of the radius of most of the venues, and even being able to get together and rehearse or be in a venue would be problematic. So it's absolutely the right decision, I think, and I thought so at the time. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that the Sydney Fringe went through something fairly recently as well. Had closed down the bulk of its sort of live work, and has the Essence of Fringe running at the moment, which I encourage my handful of viewers to log on and watch. There's some good stuff out there. I've already started reviewing them. They also have the Will Fringe Again program, which is they're raising money to program works in next year's Fringe. The fact that you've got the venue and that you're able to program and reprogram some of the venues from this year's Fringe into shows from this year's Fringe into that venue. Is there the same kind of fundraising support structures that people can donate to or get involved with to help those people get their shows back up?
Yeah, so we're calling ours the Phoenix Fund, and people can donate to the Phoenix Fund, which is there to support those artists who've had their events cancelled. So people who had already bought tickets, we've asked them if they'll donate their tickets to those artists. But people who hadn't yet bought tickets, you can make a donation, you know, via the Melbourne Fringe website to the Phoenix Fund that is there to support those artists. Absolutely. And then, as you say, we're aiming to still get as many up as we can in 2022.
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of them if we can get them up. So, all right, now to the really important stuff. Not that that's not important. All right. So, as we do this recording, I know it's still embargoed, but I will not get this edited and put out into the world until after the embargo date. So, feel free to talk to me about the shows that are coming up. I asked Kerry about what her recommendations were for the shows on at the moment. I'm going to ask you for yours as well. What do you think we should log into aside from everything?
Oh gosh. It is really hard. Where do I start? Look, there's a beautiful artist called Brodie Murray, First Nations writer, who's written a work called Billy's Choice, set on Wumba Wumba River Country. He's been working with the amazing Rachel Mazza on the work. It's about buried family secrets. It's small. He's a young emerging artist, but really beautiful, I think. If you haven't seen Lou Wall, Lou's work, that one time I joined the Illuminati, I've seen it live, and I can see how they can translate it really well into a digital work. The screen is a central part of the work in its live version, and it's really clever, and it's about Lou who spent 5 months trying to join the Illuminati and then made a show out of it. And it's funny. It's really clever. Gosh, what else can I tell you? So many. You must know Dazza and Keith, who are, of course, the amazing drag kings. They are reenacting the Titanic movie, playing all of the roles.
I saw that. I thought that looked a lot of fun.
Which will be genius. The people of Cabaret made a digital work last year. They're an amazing collective of artists, particularly focused on artists of colour, and they made a really amazing showcase work last year that won an award, and they've made a new work this year as well. The Game Boys as well. If you haven't seen the Game Boys, they're very clever and really it'll be the best use of digital technology you see, I reckon. And they've got a show called Hey Hey, It's Lockdown.
Oh yes, I saw that. The title, is that referencing Hey Hey, It's Saturday?
It's referencing Hey Hey, It's Saturday. Understanding its problematic nature. Yeah. It is absolutely an ironic reference, and it is. They make really interesting, great kind of digital, visual work. Stephen Nicolazzo's got a work from Little Ones Theatre. He's got a work called Body Horror, which is working with the students at Monash. Telia Neville has a show, and Telia, of course, is an amazing, fringe stalwart, making a kind of Dr.
more than
Seuss.
20 years now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Making a great kind of rhyming, very clever show. There's so many. Rochelle Fong's got a show. Margot Tanjutko's got a show.
Ranters have got the Holiday coming back as well.
Holiday is coming back. Yeah, that's right. So Richard Pyros is putting that together. Is taking the Ranta script and turning it into a film. Josh Glantz is doing a show called It's Tonight with Spanish Fuckboy, which will be clever and great, I think. There's a show that happens, a show called Audio Cubicle that you listen to in your bathroom while you're on the toilet.
Did that come out of Monash? Is that ex-Monash students? Because I'm sure I saw a development of something like that out that way. No,
it's not. It's Anya Reynolds, who's an amazing musician. She tours with Yothu Yindi, Circus Oz. She's amazing. Gosh, there's so many. There's 126 of them, but there's sort of probably 20 of them. But there's a number of kind of club shows. A show called Streaming Seaman, that's kind of sea shanty songs.
That is not what it sounds like.
It's deliberate. Jonathan Holmesy's got a work. If you haven't seen Jonathan's work before, there's so many amazing works actually.
Yeah, terrific. I'm really looking forward to it. As always, even not being able to not get out of the house, it's still too much to be able to see everything at once. So before I let you go, I'm going to ask one more question. I've been on, especially under lockdown, I've been on something of the campaign to say the digital platform, the digital streaming works, the on-demand works have been so great over the last 18 months. They've been such a lifeline to be able to see work that's here in Melbourne, but also around Australia, be able to see work that I wouldn't normally get to see. And of course, because I struggle to get out to see shows these days, being able to see them at home is so much easier and so much less anxiety. And I feel like there are a lot of people like me out there who have the same thing, and especially moving forward. Given the state of the world and the unpredictability of the world and the platforms that have been developed now over the last 18 months, do you think that this kind of digital work is going to be not replace live work, but become more of a presence moving forward?
Yeah, there's two answers to that. I think the first one is absolutely. For all of those reasons you've talked about, it's for accessibility. There's so many people, either because of disability or caring responsibilities or all sorts of reasons why, physical distance, regional. There's so many reasons why people can't necessarily get into theatres. So I think there's no question that there's going to be a demand for it and that we're going to see it continue. My second answer is to do it properly, it's expensive, and theatre is already an expensive form, you know, and underfunded. And so, you know, my hope is that we're going to see a rise in kind of funding and resources that specifically enable this work to happen, because as you say, it's really important for accessibility, and but it does cost, you know, money that independent artists don't have. And so we're certainly advocating very strongly and doing everything we can to ensure the kind of continued digital engagement can happen as well.
Yeah, great. You hear that, state and federal government, who are absolutely not listening or watching to these videos? Definitely see there should be a new fund. There should absolutely be a new fund to be able to support our artists being able to do that. And speaking of funds, I'm going to remind everybody, go and donate to the Phoenix Fund, help support Fringe and help support the artists that have been affected by the lockdowns over the last 18 months, not just in the last 2 months. Simon Abrams, thank you so much. It's always a joy to have you here and to speak to you, and hope we get to speak together again soon.
Can't wait. Thanks, Rob. Always a pleasure. Bye.
Thanks.